People have completely lost their minds. I just need to make that declaration, by the way. And by the way, this is by all accounts, youtube.com/@allaccountsshow. Go subscribe, hang out. Basically, here's the premise. We scroll social media and react to the same things you see so you don't have to. Why waste your time with 180, 220 characters for something that is going to be lost into the timeline ether when you can come hang with us and we can have a good conversation about what you're seeing and react with our own verbal acumen, okay? People have completely lost their minds over Caitlin Clark and the WNBA. This started with Jemele Hill kind of poking the racial bear a couple of weeks ago. Oh, all this attention because white and straight, Caitlin Clark. And so that, of course, is going to send discourse into the toilet, especially on Twitter. Then there's the highly anticipated Fever, Caitlin Clark's team, and Chicago Sky, Angel Reese, her arch nemesis going back to college, Iowa, LSU. They're meeting on national television last weekend. And what has started this race to the bottom is a, yes, dirty play, but a pretty, to me, innocuous hip check in response to Caitlin Clark talking shit. Chennedy Clark of the Chicago Sky decided to send a message, and dirty play, flagrant play, hip check Caitlin Clark, sort of one of those message senders, hey, eat shit rookie type of plays. And you would have thought the way that people have reacted and the discourse that's followed that a hate crime has taken place. Like I cannot believe that intelligent people that watched this sport saw that and said to themselves, oh my God, this is one of the worst things I've ever seen in the game. There's no room for that. Suspender, punish her. Let's have a discourse about why Caitlin Clark needs to be saved. I will be willing to bet game one of the NBA Finals, whenever it starts, because we're about 20 days from the last time we saw an NBA game. I don't even know when the finals start at this point. But whenever it starts, we are going to see an altercation, a grab of a shoulder, a rip at somebody that's going to be just as severe as the Chennedy Clark hip check of Caitlin Clark. And we're not going to think twice about it because that's just ball. That's just hoop. That's just sending a message. Is it dirty? Yeah. Take care of it. Does it need to have any further discussion? Probably not. I can almost assure you we're going to see something similar, if not greater than, in game one of the NBA Finals. The exaggeration, the life of its own that this thing has taken on, some of the discussion that has been elicited from this is some of the most embarrassing sports discourse I can remember anywhere. Like, what are we doing? How has it been 5 days since Chennedy Clark hip checked Caitlin Clark, and we're still discussing the ramifications for the sport, for the league, because of that? I mean, Zach, to be quite honest, it's fucking stupid.
I mean, it's your welcome to the NBA moment. It's your welcome to the WNBA moment. Got hip checked. You were talking shit. Someone came over and did it. Do I think it was necessary? Nah. And you know what? A lot of the times it's not necessary what happens. Like you said, I would just assume this also, like you said in the NBA Finals, Luka is going to drive to the hoop, or better yet, Kyrie is going to drive to the hoop at some point, and one of the enforcers for Boston is going to try to elbow him in the eyeball and send a message in game one of the NBA Finals. This is a lot different because it's not NBA Finals, but it is a lot more polarizing because it's Caitlin Clark. I looked at it and said, ooh, yeah, it sucks. What's going to happen? It would have been much better, and I wonder what would happen in a different dimension that we live in if Caitlin Clark got up and threw a punch at her. And, well, you know what I mean? Like, I just wonder what the drawback, the feedback would be from that, because we saw this hip check. We saw her get up and shrug her hips. She's been known, by the way, Caitlin Clark, to talk as much shit or more than anyone else in women's basketball, from her time at Iowa all the way to where she is now. And she's talking shit now, which is good. Good for her. That's her game. Got to go and do it. but give me a break about throwing all this other stuff. There's so much now other minutia around this that it's so stupid, because if this was 2 black ladies, 2 white ladies, 2 Hispanic ladies, 2 Asian, doesn't matter what it was, and it happened, maybe it wouldn't have been that big of a deal. Oh, big deal. But because it was a black girl hitting a white girl, or what McAfee said, which I'm not going to repeat in this circumstance, but because of that, now the racial flares have been thrown up by everyone around the country. And I'm just like, you know what? If this is the conversation and the topic we're going to have around Caitlin Clark her entire career, how she's the great white hope, the white savior for the WNBA, that honestly, I'm almost not interested anymore. I'm really, I don't want that to dominate the headlines. I want the build-up for these games, if that's the case, dominate headlines. That's fine. But something like this, shrug it off, it's done. Don't make a 7-day window out of talking about this, because it's just so damn stupid what happened. So damn stupid.
I don't even know, though, if there's a racial component to this past what's already existed.
Right.
When I see the pearl clutching and the, oh my God, did you see what that woman did to poor innocent Caitlin Clark? You know what that suggests to me? Not racism, but sexism. And hear me out. There are a lot of sports talkers out there that are towing the line of, my goodness me, these 2 proper ladies engaging in that type of conduct. That is uncouth behavior for ladies of that stature. I don't know if some people are capable of watching women compete against one another without becoming uncomfortable if they're competing like men. So forget the racial element of this for a second. I think there's actually a gender conversation that needs to be had, because you want this thing to be real, and you want the eyeballs on it, and you want this entity to take off. But as soon as there's the ugly side of the same sport that produced Kevin McHale and Kurt Rambis clotheslining in the NBA Finals, and Jeff Van Gundy hanging on for dear life in the middle of a brutal fight with his Knicks, and Heat Knicks brawls, and Bulls Knicks brawls, and this entire thing. You mean to tell me same sport, a hip check? Was it after the play? Sure. Was it dirty? Absolutely. Was it flagrant? But this is sending us into a discourse of, what does it mean? I actually don't know, as a sports media society, if we're ready to watch women compete against women at the highest level. And one more thing about this as well. I keep hearing this. She's the meal ticket. Zach, she's the golden goose. She's the savior of the league. She's why there's eyeballs. She's why the ratings are up. She's why these NBA arenas are being sold out. She's why merch is being sold. You have to protect your golden goose. You have these women. All they know is how to compete and grind, and professionally, they're playing in a sport, in a league that pays them way less than now what their market value is. And you're going to dare insinuate that they should hold up and let the rookie come in and do whatever she wants? It flies in the face of what these women stand for. It flies in the face of competition. It is disrespectful to these women. It's disrespectful to the WNBA. I think it's disrespectful to Caitlin Clark, and damn it if it's not disrespectful to the game of basketball as a whole. Where are our priorities? We have lost our goddamn minds with Caitlin Clark, and this is case in point.
This, to me, is the greatest overreaction to something that I've seen in a very long time. It's just such a great overreaction, because, like you said, this is the same sport where, like, Rudy Tomjanovich almost lost his eyeball from being punched in the face 100 years ago. That when Magic Johnson and Larry Bird came into the league as the saviors to the league, this was one of the roughest times in the NBA history, where dudes, like you said, were getting clotheslined and there were real punches thrown and there were no fouls. Like you could punch a guy and probably get maybe a technical, maybe. You're not getting thrown out of the game, but maybe a technical. What it is now is if you look at someone the wrong way, you get thrown out of a game in the NBA now. If you say something, you get thrown out. Caitlin Clark, yes, to a point, she is the kind of person, because of the fact that more than likely she's the most popular in that sport right now, is going to be the reason why the sport turns around a little bit. Sure, that's fine. We can throw that on her shoulders a little bit. But is she the only reason? Nah, she's not. And the WNBA, by the way, I saw this yesterday and I thought it was hysterical. Not that I'm following the schedule or the standings. I'm not going to sit here and try to tell you I'm a fake fan, because I'm not. I'll watch when it's on, this and that, blah, blah, blah. I think in the first 20 days of the WNBA starting, they had Caitlin Clark on national TV 11 times. They had her on every other day. You want to know how you want to know how to really ruin your league? Burning out your best player also. I know she's 20 and change or whatever, and she can play every night. That's fine. Me and Ken can go out and play basketball, and it might take us 4 days to recover before we even can pick up a basketball anymore. I know they're athletes. That's fine. But let me tell you this. Don't put her in every game on national TV now if you're afraid of something happening to her, okay? Because it's going to happen. Magic Johnson, Larry Bird got beat up their first couple of years. Michael got beat up. Everyone took shots at LeBron before, they were calling fouls a little bit too heavy there. This is what happens in every sport when you're supposed to be the next big thing, the savior of the sport. Everyone's going to want a piece of Caitlin Clark, and that's fine. Was it a dirty hit? Yeah. Did she break her arm, and is she out for the season? No. She's fine. She got right up and okay. The outrage from this is incredible. But what I'm afraid of with this, what I'm afraid of with all this is everything that you said on top of the racial stuff too. It's everything. It's people not being able to handle women play basketball at a physical level, that they think they're just supposed to manzy-pansy around and shoot a basketball. No, these girls are tough girls. They've been playing basketball their whole life in the streets. And I'm not saying the streets. I'm just saying anywhere around their neighborhood. Let them play. Let them be girls, but let them play basketball also like normal people play basketball. But the outrage, because it's Caitlin Clark, because it's her, because, like you said, it's the golden goose, give it a break for a second. The more this happens, the more everyone's going to be burnt out from this and not pay attention. Let it kind of lay. Let it kind of sit there and go from there. I just don't understand. But then again, I don't think a lot of us can understand this, because this is the first time the WNBA has been in front and center. We've had it before for moments. If Cheryl Swoops or someone like this, Lisa Leslie's in the league, that's fine. We've had moments, but not like this. This is on a whole new level. And a lot of it is because of one thing you brought up in the last couple episodes we've had here, social media. That's the gasoline on any kind of fire right now. And there's so much gasoline in social media that this is never going to go away until Caitlin Clark does something in that direction, until she hits somebody, until she does it in that way. And then maybe we come to a happy medium. But until that happens, stay away from the golden goose, stay away from the moneymaker. I can't believe what happened to her. Give me a break.
Just so much of this to me comes off as common sense. Why can't you just cover and talk about the women's game the same as you talk about the men's game? For example, Pat McAfee. Let's go to Twitter at Pat McAfee. From Pat McAfee talking about women's basketball yesterday. What a dumbass.
Is she what? I don't know. I just, with my eyes, I couldn't see if she's Caucasian or not. So I think what we're trying to say is what the WNBA currently has is what we like to describe as a cash cow. There is a superstar. And we're not saying that the players on the court need to act any differently. That's the athletes are going to do what athletes are going to do in any sport. And I think we're all learning that WNBA, that's old school football, baby. That is old school football. But I would like the media people that continue to say, this rookie class. Nah, just call it for what it is. There's one white bitch for the Indiana team who is a superstar.
Wow. And Ken, let me tell you something. He was okay until that. He was okay. Everything he said was fine. He's talking about old school NFL. Great. Everything is good. Pat, stop. Before you said that, stop and think for 1 second. Pat's great at what he does, but that he just took to a level that you can't take it to. And he was so okay before that. I was shaking my head to everything he was saying. Cash cow, I get it. Number one superstar in the league, I get it. They're old. Obviously, if you started just to watch the NBA, you could tell they got a little old school in them. They're going to be a little physical. I get it. I love it so far. Then he goes white bitch, and I'm like, oh my God, what? If you're going to drive this train, bro, at the end, don't drive it off the rails. Like, don't take it off the tracks. You're okay where you were. Jesus.
That's what I'm talking about with common sense. Forget the content there and the context and the point he's making. Fine. Like he's totally entitled to his opinion on what the WNBA is, who's the driving force. He's probably right. Us saying the rookie class is probably a nice way of saying Caitlin Clark and then the other women. But you cannot. You could. Like, what is? I understand wanting to be provocative, and I understand that in this day and age, you got to do those things to get eyeballs, to get attention. He's got to brand the whole thing. I'm not down on Pat McAfee, and I'm not anti Pat McAfee, but Jesus Christ, would you people think? Because as ridiculous as the think piece is about how do we protect Caitlin Clark, to we need sweeping changes across the sport. How does the WNBA protect its star? Why are these other women trying to protect trying to hurt their paychecks and go out and compete against Caitlin Clark? As dumb and nonsensical as that is, this is the other end of the spectrum. Stupid. Just from what are you saying? What are you doing? It's the same stupid thing. But then, like, I grew up in Chicagoland, so I'm sensitive to this. This from the Chicago Tribune, at Chicago Tribune. This is an editorial. The editors of one of the standard newspapers in the United States of America and internationally, Zach, yesterday, from the editorial board, the foul committed by Chicago Sky guard Chennedy Carter on Caitlin Clark was egregious. Outside of a sporting contest, it would have been seen as an assault.
Jeez.
Holy
assault?
Shit. Right. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? You got all your editors together to come up and write that? Zach, I lived in my sports fan prime, in the prime of the 6 titles in 8 years, 2 3-peat Chicago Bulls. The second iteration of that had Dennis Rodman on the team. The same Dennis Rodman who kicked a cameraman in a game and got suspended. And guess what? There wasn't at any point. I even went back and checked because maybe my child brain was failing me. There was no message from the editorial board about Dennis Rodman kicking a cameraman. But this gets a written presentation from the Chicago Tribune editorial board. What are we doing? That's the common sense I'm talking about. That is so wasteful. What a waste of everybody's time.
It's so stupid. By the way, I think I've been hip checked harder on the New York subway trying to get a seat, by the way, and no one claimed assault or was going to get arrested at that point. This is a perfect example between this in one direction, Pat McAfee in another direction, the way that all these people are going, and Jamil Hill in another direction. It's like, okay, everybody, first off, take a deep breath. Not everything is an assault or something racist or this and that. We live in a society right now where a lot of things are out there and a lot of things are being used against people, and that also. But really, we're going on a rampage like this because Caitlin Clark got hip checked by another player that she was talking shit to, that she was a little pissed off, and she hip checked her. She didn't cold cock her from the side and knock her out cold on the floor. At that point, that Chicago Tribune editorial would have been accurate. That would have been assault, okay? She didn't sit there and trip her and her face broke on the floor and you saw it was just a blatant, I want to hurt her type of thing. No, Chennedy went over to her and bumped her and basically said, take that shit right there. Take it. Take it. Okay, I'm going back. Oh, penalty, foul, this. Okay, great. And then what's happened since then is unbelievable. Have we ever seen something like this in a male sport? No, of course not. No, you haven't. I don't care who it is. Jordan, Brady, Wayne Gretzky, name the greatest of the sport. And I can't believe we're even putting Caitlin Clark in that conversation yet because she's nowhere close to that. But the most popular person in their sport could get hit. The only thing that's come close to that is if Tom Brady used to get hit and they used to change rules, okay? But not assault, not a front page Chicago Tribune or the topic of conversation for 45 fucking minutes on ESPN every morning now since it happened. It is incredible what Caitlin Clark has done to the sports society, not society in general. She's not big enough to do that. The sports society we're living in right now and everything around Caitlin Clark is incredible. We haven't seen something like this in a very, very long time. So it's kind of funny to see and really annoying to see at the same time also.
Our brains are rotted. Like common sense exists with this. And honestly, what it's doing to me is it's ruining the WNBA experience.
Correct.
I'm more than ready to jump on the WNBA train and ride that thing. I love the competitiveness. I want to get into it. I like the momentum. This kind of stuff, it's not sustainable because it's so dumb. Like I get having takes and I get having angles and I get focusing on certain players. And of course, Caitlin Clark is always going to be the focus of sports talk shows. But this kind of stuff, it's so detrimental because it's so dumb. It's lowest common denominator discussion for anybody with a functioning cerebral cortex. And we've lost all common sense now. And it's tarnishing this entire thing to me. By all accounts,